quest for the Holy Grail in European club football continues this afternoon as the round of 16 in the UEFA Champions League continues in earnest. A Champions League night at Anfield is one not to miss, and we'll be taking you there in short order because that matchup is a repeat of last year's final, and that's the headline act for this week. Good afternoon from wherever you're watching. My name is Donald Oliver. Welcome to our coverage here on the home of champions. I'm sure you're up to date with the results so far, but for those who aren't, let's just recap the scores from last week. Bayern Munich with a 1-0 win in Paris over PSG. Inter Milan with a similar result at home to Tottenham. Benfica with a 2-0 win at Club Brugge, and Borussia Dortmund with a 1-0 victory at home over Chelsea. That should have been AC Milan rather. Inter Milan are actually in action on Wednesday. Let's go through the matches that we're looking forward to now. Liverpool against Real Madrid, Eintracht Frankfurt, Napoli, RB Leipzig, Manchester City, Inter Milan, Porto. And those are the matches that we're looking forward to over the next couple of days. In studio, Eric Rademacher, technical director at the Kingston Football Academy and an assistant coach at local Premier League club Arnett Gardens. Right beside him, a young and upcoming analyst, one of the brightest young football minds in Jamaica. Of course, he's an analyst on our Jamaica Premier League coverage as well, Jay Williams. And joining us online is Juan Arango. He's our chief South American correspondent. One, welcome to the show, gentlemen. So eight teams. We're going to be seeing them over the next 36 hours or so, or 26 hours or so. Eric, starts with you. What are you looking forward from this bunch in the round of 16?
I mean, I think you put it good as the Champions League final from last year, so it's hard to go around the Liverpool-Madrid match. So that's definitely something that, even looking at the form of two teams, kind of up and down, shaky in there, is one we definitely look forward to. But it's a Champions League, so I think every match has some excitement that we can look at, and looking forward to another week.
Liz?
The same. I think Real Madrid versus Liverpool is always a big contest. It was the final of last year, so I'm sure revenge will be on the mind of Liverpool, of course. But I think that Napoli-Frankfurt game will be very entertaining as well.
Juan, your thoughts?
I agree. I mean, you're looking today at the reigning Champions League winner, the reigning Europa League winner, and maybe one of the more exciting teams in European football right now in Napoli. I mean, it's not a knock on Liverpool. It's just that they've had a very up and down season. But again, it's in February and March when you start going through those hard times and you start coming out of them, which Liverpool kind of looks like they are. That's when you start really having to worry about those types of teams.
All right, well, Eintracht Frankfurt are the Europa League champions, and they're up against Italy's leading light this season, Napoli. Napoli won 5 of 6 matches in the group stage, while Frankfurt finished second to Tottenham in dramatic fashion. They had contrasting results, or the route to this stage, both these teams. Let's take a look back at how they went through.
Frankfurt keeping their cool right from the start. Daichi Kamada sends this place wild. This man continues to be in the headlines. The Georgian superstar.
And Colomwani and Lindstrom has scored Eintracht Frankfurt's first ever goal in the UEFA Champions League.
Not since the days of Diego Maradona have Napoli enjoyed this kind of success.
Randall Colomwani, they're in the box seat for qualification now.
Raspadori arrived at the crucial moment. He's a man in form. They tried to stop him, they couldn't, and it was the simplest of finishes.
Foundation laid for pole position in the group and also for a 12th straight win. And it is another momentous European night for Eintracht Frankfurt.
Well, we are witnessing a new paradigm, aren't we? Because Frankfurt and Napoli are meeting for the first time in the Champions League. But I suggest to you, gentlemen, that the Serie A leaders, Napoli, are the favourites in this one. Eric?
Yeah, I mean, at this stage, you can almost say maybe they're one of the teams to watch actually win the Champions League because...
You go so far.
I mean, they came on with very nice, good football, and we reached February, almost March, and they're still playing very nice, attractive football with a lot of goals. I mean, I think the lead in the Serie A reached double digits around that amount of distance. And I don't think you can ignore it, you know. At this point, yes, they might have Frankfurt, which might not be the biggest test you expect for them, but as I say, week in, week out in the Serie A and in Europe, they have shown this season that they really have the quality and the consistency.
Yeah, they have a couple of stars in their lineup, Napoli. What are your thoughts on them, Liz, and what do you think of their form so far? Do you think they can continue with it?
Yeah, I think they can continue with it. They've been the best team in Europe's top 5 leagues if you're looking at it points-wise so far this season. 62 points from their 23 games. That's the most in Europe's top 5 leagues, actually. Their form players, you know, Victor Osimhen, 18 goals in the league. Kivichka Kvaratskhelia, 10 goals, 9 assists in 19 games, 2 goals, 3 assists in 5 games in the Champions League. So he's going at a rate of a goal contribution per game. Osimhen is deadly, but it's not only that, they're midfield as well with Zielinski, Zambo Anguissa, Labatka. They have great players all over the park. They play really good football and they're coached really well by Spalletti as well. So it will be very tough to stop them, but I think Frankfurt will be a stern test actually, just judging by how they play generally.
Yeah, it's interesting to look at the contest, Juan Arango, because you look at Napoli, I guess you can say that they've been so easy on the eye, but do you sense vulnerabilities there? And of course, they are going to be traveling to Germany in this first leg.
Vulnerabilities there always will be, I mean, with a team like Napoli, but they are able to cover them up so well, and their strengths are so strong, so firm, that they're able to truly really make up for them, really compensate in many aspects. Now, the big question mark that many that might not be familiar with what Napoli have been able to, they play in Serie A. In Serie A, whatever negative reputation it might have, well, Napoli has been able to really change a lot of those paradigms, change a lot of those narratives over the past few years. It's just this season, they're basically running away with it with a 15-point advantage over their nearest rival. Again, when you start looking at it from that perspective, it's great, but then you can't underestimate what Eintracht Frankfurt can do. A team that, as we mentioned before, won the Europa League, but no one mentions how they won the Europa League and who they had to face in order to be able to climb that mountain. So it's going to be a tough test. And yes, I do agree that if things start rolling or they continue rolling, many of us might want to be making plans to go to Naples, not only to celebrate a Serie A victory or Scudetto, but maybe start looking at the possibility of them being in a Champions League final.
The question now is Frankfurt, because they are coming into the tie as underdogs, and of course they're making their debut at this stage of the competition, like Club Brugge, but of course Club Brugge would have gone down to Benfica in that first leg. How much are you expecting from them realistically?
I like the comparison with Club Brugge. I think a crucial difference is though Frankfurt started their season very poor after coming off a high in the final Europa League final last year, and started very poor, but actually has been catching back their form, and in recent weeks is one of the better teams when we look in the Bundesliga. So I think they're not expecting anything, but at this stage I think they're definitely hoping for a good result, and I think they have reason to have some hopes.
Liz, talk to me about Daichi Kamada. How good of a player is he, you think?
I think he's a really good player. I'm sure Eric can tell you as a coach as well, there's something about a player who can do the small things really well repeatedly. That's what makes a really good player, and that's exactly what he does. He just keeps things ticking over. In the prior seasons, he would play behind the strikers. Now he's playing a bit deeper, but he's still contributing to goals from that position. So I think Frankfurt and Kamada still do have a really good chance in this tie.
Of course, talk to me about the X factors on the Frankfurt team, Wanarango. What do you think they'll have to do to get on top of this tie, this first leg in particular?
Pressure. They'll have to close spaces. They'll have to frustrate Karasvelia and company, and really be able to limit the amount of service or the amount of options that are coming into Victor Osimhen. It's a team that is disciplined at times, but when they do get broken down, they get broken down in a big way. So that's I guess the point would be more discipline from a defensive standpoint and prevent the opposition from breaking them down, which sounds kind of logical, but when you start looking at some of the results that they've had in the Bundesliga in the past, over the past season, you don't start understanding what happens when they end up getting hit first. So that ends up being one of the things that Eintracht Frankfurt really has to look at.
Let's revisit Napoli a bit, because they've been going through the Serie A with breeze, really. Little challenges. A result that I thought was pretty surprising was the one that they got over Juventus a few weeks back. This after Juventus were pretty much not conceding for a long string of matches. Was that an indication for you, gentlemen, that they were not to be played with even in Europe?
I think Juventus, especially after the whole drama and the scandal, everything came out, it's difficult to really put a lot of value on that match. At the time, a lot of things were happening at Juventus, so they were not the strongest opponent to really go up against. But I do think you have to look at Napoli and take them very serious. I want to highlight two players, because we look at the nice players that you mentioned that have the numbers and the statistics. But I think Lobotka in the midfield is somebody who might not have the best numbers in assists in goals, but very crucial for the game that Napoli is playing. And outside of that, the centre-back Kim, I think during the World Cup he got here and there some attention, but really for the game that Napoli is playing, he's somebody who can bring the ball forward, who can start the attacks and really allows Napoli to have that kind of attacking mindset when they build up. So Napoli is, I would say, really a great team. They have some players that excel, but even when you look at those individuals, they're not superstars. So I think for both teams today, some of their strength lies really in the force of the team.
But it's the consistency that we are impressed with most of all, aren't we, Liz?
Yeah, very consistent. They've only lost 3 games cumulatively this season. In the Serie A, they've only lost 1, and that was to Inter, 1-0. But I think just watching over that Inter game, I think that's what really makes me feel that Frankfurt can get a result against them today, because it was in that Inter game, Inter played 3 at the back, Frankfurt played 3 at the back, and they were able to nullify the spaces that Kvaratskhelia could get into by doubling up on him on that side with the wing back and the outside centre back. So I think if there's going to be a way in which Frankfurt can exploit Napoli, it will be in that way, but it's to be seen whether or not Oliver Glasner and his team can really put that game plan forward.
How do you see this one going in terms of predictions?
I see Napoli squeezing a 1-0 victory out of this one. I mean, they've already gone through tough moments. The past few years, they came out from a season standpoint. They came out of the gate strong, and then in January, February, they tended to just peter away. But this team looks different, and that Inter game really changed things. Yes, sometimes defeats do end up changing things for certain squads, and for Napoli, it ended up changing their mindset a bit more and refocused them on what they needed to do. And right now, they look focused on what the task at hand is.
Liz, quickly, predictions?
I'll say 3-1 Napoli.
3-1?
Yeah.
Eric?
You go to Napoli as well, 2-1 for Napoli.
All right, well, all 3 favoring Napoli. But for now, we take a break. When we return, we take a look at our feature game at Anfield, Liverpool against Real Madrid. Stay with us.